Well, it's a beautiful cloudy morning here at Dahlonega Wine Farm in Dahlonega, Georgia, and I'm here with our chief winemaker, my good friend, my teacher, Sean Wilburn, who's been the winemaker at Cloudland, has a great career here in the Southeast in winemaking. And I just think, let me just say, I think you're the man that everyone turns to understand the wonderful, wonderful opportunity we have with American varietals here in the Southeastern United States. Mm-hmm. And today for Dahlonega Television, this episode we're going to focus on one of the most interesting, least known perhaps, Sean, grapes in the arsenal of people who are approaching the American varietal as a strong contender. We're going to be talking about Lomanto. Under Sean's guidance, we planted about 2.5 acres of Lomanto. It's here on my right and left. These are young vines, Sean. So now they're in year 3. Compared to Norton, some of the other things we're growing here, they're not as they don't grow as fast. They seem to be a little bit more whimsy, or how would you describe this? They're a lighter cover.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. They're a little more sparse and crotchety in their appearance at first compared to a lot of the other more vigorous varieties, but they do get by year 5, 6 they really get very lovely and mature and quite beautiful aesthetically. But I mean, you and I both know the secret is behind what they produce in the fruit is just absolutely magical.
And as we've said previously on Dahlonega Television, when we talk about the winter, this is the moment where we're pruning and we're really beginning the curation of these vines. So if you'll notice, everything's tied up nice and neatly. The cordons are left and right. We've picked the ones that are going to be powerful to grow. They'll drip up and over. And this summer, I suspect that we'll get a lot of coverage from these vines. We had fruit here last year. We harvested it and had a good time with it. But this year, I think we're going to have a major harvest. But let's talk a little bit about Lomanto and its origins. It's in its own class, and you want to take it from there, Sean?
Sure. Yeah, this is a really, really amazing grape. Almost became extinct. Started in 1902 by the horticulturalist T.V. Munson, who out of Texas, who's the same T.V. Munson who saved the European wine industry from phylloxera.
Right.
And his main work was hybridization and working with European varieties with Native American varieties. And his goal was to create the perfect lineup of varieties for the cellar so that you're harvesting in perfect sequence behind each other as the season goes. So one is ripened, then the next is ripened, and the next is ripened, so that you, from a cellar standpoint, you have the perfect lineup of varieties. But in hundreds of varieties that he created, the one that just stands out the most is Lomanto. It's a amazing grape that he used to crossing a muscatel variety that's known as Pence or Malaga from the coast of Spain, and a hybrid of Native American varieties known as Salado, and he just came up with just this absolute gem.
So this is the Munson stories by themselves are wonderful stories in the wine industry. But from the work of Munson to the time it gets to us here in North Georgia, is in the ground, is growing, that's a lot of distance there. And today there's still relatively few growers that have adopted Lomanto. You have been one of them at Cloudland. We're here at Dahlonega. We are enthusiastic about the grape, and in a little while we'll go inside and we'll taste some of the wine. But a little bit more just about, gosh, the uniqueness of this this assemblage, this genetic assemblage, and how many other grapes right now, how many other vines sort of fit in this category, or how many have sort of just jumped out and gotten a foothold in the industry?
Yeah, not of the Munson varieties, not very many are as well known. There are definitely some other really promising varieties that there are some folks in Texas who are having some good success with some of the varieties. University out of Texas that took over Munson's original block and continue to propagate his work have had some other variety of success, but Lomanto is something incredibly special. We have been so bullish on Lomanto from a viticulture standpoint, from the vines aspect. It is a southeastern grape. It grows so well for us as a plant in our environment.
Yes, so it's back to having Mother Nature on your side.
Yeah.
And this is all back to the challenges that all of us have in the industry to grow product that is sustainable, to grow product that belongs in our region, to grow product that has a flavor profile that people not only are curious about, but they will adopt, and that expands sort of the flavor offerings that we can provide here in the Southeast. Now, a little bit more about that. When you develop these hybrids for our region, part of what you're doing is working on disease prevention. You're trying to select plants that are hardy in terms of the weather, cold, heat, humidity, rain, but in addition to that, to the diseases that are prevalent here in the Southeast, particularly the mildews. Now, Lomanto has a pretty strong resistance in the mildew category.
Yeah, and I think that's really important for what Dog Hobble has spearheaded here, is embracing those varieties that don't make us create this artificial environment around the field to produce an agricultural product and a value-added product in wine. The varieties that here on Dog Hobble, especially the Lomanto, really embrace that philos of, this is something that can grow here in Georgia without a ton of inputs, and like you said, the final product in the wine is something truly special. It's not a wine that
and this you can when you're in the sustainable discussion, you can easily get lost, right? You can get it.
Oh, yeah.
We got to remember that these vines are all about producing a grape that can be translated into a wine. Either it's a varietal on its own or blended. But this wine, this is a dark red grape. And I remember, Sean, a year or two ago, we tasted some of the grapes, and I noticed right away that the color was so dark and intense, almost like an ink.
Yeah.
And I think your comment was, oh, that's a wine tattoo.
Yes.
Yes. Lomanto has a very strong coloration to it that's quite beautiful, by the way, in the glass. And it's really the reason that we're growing it here. We're growing it so that we can make a delicious wine. And in a little bit, we're going to go inside to the taste room, and we're going to taste some Lomanto, talk a little bit more about it. But we just wanted you to see today, still winter time, still a time for thinking about the curation of these vines, taking care of them, getting them ready for bud break here a little bit later in the spring, and then for a healthy growing season. So let's go inside now, Sean, and taste some wine.
Let's do it.
So Sean, now we're back inside the tasting room outside of the vineyard. That was fun, walking in the vines, seeing that young Lomanto in the winter season. But as I said, all of our wine growing is really about bringing the wine into the winemaking process and creating that lovely wine in the bottle. And today we have a little tasting, and we're going to taste a little Lomanto. And so Sean, now's the moment. We've gotten it from the vine. It was beautiful when it was harvested and crushed, and now we have the Lomanto grape. And so, how do you describe this unique grape? How do you describe the flavor? How do you describe the aroma for, our listeners?
Yeah, it's almost psychedelic. It's like it's It's incredible. I always say it's like a Grateful Dead concert in your mouth, and it's probably silly, but how else can you describe this crazy wine? It's amazing. It's unlike anything you've tasted. You can't compare it to really anything. Where in the world can you use descriptors for a red wine like pineapple, cotton candy, red cherry? Those are typically white wine descriptors. Very very exotic white wine grapes, but you're picking up aromas of white wine in a very deep, inky, full-bodied red wine. So yeah, just such a fun, crazy grape.
What strikes me about Lomanto is when I take I like to take a big drink of the wine. I don't like to just sip a wine. I like to take a gulp of it, almost like you're in a monastery with monks in this. They've just poured it out of that, and you're saying salute, and you take a big drink of it.
Yeah.
But it seems that it just has an awful lot of flavor that just flows across your tongue evenly. But it's a lot of different flavors. It's not one. I don't know how you describe that.
Yeah. If for someone who's not tasted Lomanto, it's a Dolcetto and a Malbec kind of married together. An Italian, very zingy, fruity style with this depth of an Argentinian Malbec. Tannins are very light, so where you get the depth of a wine like this on the body, but the smoothness and milkiness of almost like the smoothness of a Pinot Noir, but the milky creaminess of a Malbec. It's just crazy to combine those kind of to talk about those kind of descriptors in the same wine is very unique.
So this is a young wine in the American palate, and not a lot of growers. A handful here in Georgia, some in Texas. I don't know about the Carolinas, but what's the future of this wine? How do you think this wine is going to play out? What are the next steps for this wine to become sort of more of a household name?
Yeah, I mean, to put this in perspective, this grape, 1902, cross-pollinated, as we spoke in the vineyard, in creation, and only in 2015 did it arrive in Georgia. And since that arrival, we've now expanded into probably half a dozen vineyards, and those have only come in the last couple of years. So you see this spike in popularity in the state of Georgia because, one, people see the quality and the health of the vine in our crazy jungle environment. Mm-hmm. Then they like we were speaking earlier, we're making very lighter style bodied red wines in Georgia. To grow a grape that creates a full body like this without blending, without anything, is a game changer for us. This is a game-changing grape for us in the state of Georgia.
That's so exciting, and here at Doc Hobble Television, we're all about bringing you insights into what we're doing with American varietals, with these new grapes that have such great promise. And so here's to you. Cheers, Sean.
Cheers.
Thanks for the visit today.
Thank you.
See you next time on Doc Hobble Television.